So I've been asked for some help with this challenge problem here where we're finding the variance and standard deviation given three measurements here. So this is 2.3.1, a sample of three measurements are taken and recorded. So we have X, Y, and Z, and then we are given the sample mean. The sample mean, of course, is just going to be adding X, Y, and Z and then dividing by 3 because there are three different measurements here. Now the table is just going to take you through the steps for finding the standard deviation. So we have this here A sub I, and this A sub I is going to be changing variables here. So X, Y, and Z, and then we're subtracting the sample mean from each of those. Excuse me. So for the first fill in the blank here, we have A sub I minus X bar squared. Now that X bar is that sample mean. So the first measurement we have here is going to be X minus X bar squared, which of course X is going to be 6, so that is going to be 6 minus 6.67 squared. Now that's going to give you a negative 0.67, and then we're going to square that. So of course a negative times a negative is a positive. I'm going to have to do this off screen here, but we're going to go negative 0.67 times negative 0.67, and that is going to be 0.4489. So that's going to be the value we get for this first one here. So this is going to be 0.4489. Now the next one we have same thing. So A sub I, that's just going to be Y. So this time that's going to be 5 minus X bar, which is 6.67. So that is going to be 5 minus 6.67, negative 1.67. And of course, a negative times a negative is a positive. So when we square this, this is going to become positive. And that is going to be 2.7889. And I'm not rounding yet. I'm going to round at the very end. Let's see here. And then the Z value, Z is 9. So 9 minus 6.67 is going to give us 2.33. Okay, then we're going to square that. 5.4289. Okay, that is a 4, not a 9. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay, now let me see if I can bring my calculator up on the screen here for this next part. All right, I got my calculator working, so I'm going to bring it over here. And this next part here, we have S squared. So this S squared, that's going to be the variance. Okay, and then S is the standard deviation. And this is for a sample, not a population. It's telling us this is a sample mean. So just to keep that in mind, you're going to have different symbols if it's a population. The variance for a population would be sigma squared, and then the variance, or sorry, the standard deviation is just sigma for a population. Okay, but it will tell you that in the problem. So this next part here, we're going to take each of these values. So this X minus X bar squared, that's just what we did in this table. So I am going to go ahead and pull that calculator back up. And we have first X minus X bar squared, so that is 0.4489, plus we have our second value. We already squared it, so we don't need to square it again. We did all of that here. 2.7889 plus 5.4289. Okay, oh, look at that. Need a plus sign there. We have to type this in again. There we go. Okay, so we have each value, looks good. So we're adding all of that, and then we're dividing by 2. And why are we dividing by 2? So that's going to give us our variance, and then I'll answer that question I just asked. So 4 point, and now I'm going to round, so 4.33. Okay, why are we dividing by 2? We are dividing by 2 because in the original formula, that denominator is, we have variance, you've got basically the sum, so this is just the sum of X minus X bar squared. That's the numerator. The denominator is n minus 1. And that's kind of hinting to what I was talking about, the difference between the sample and the population. So the sample has the n minus 1, and the population is going to have the big N. So that's what will change your variance and standard deviation formulas. Now this little n, that just means sample size. Okay, which is how many values did I have here? How many measurements? How many elements of each sample or population is taken? So this one had 1, 2, 3. So that's where this 2 came from. That's 3 minus 1. Okay, that's where we got that from. Now, if this was a population, it just looks like this. And this is for variance. The sum of x minus x bar, which really, we're going to be using the Greek letter for x bar, which is your mean. They're the same though. And then it's going to be over big N, which is your population. Okay, again, the question told you it was a sample. Okay, so you're going to want to look for that hint in the question if they don't already give you the formula. So they're already giving you part of the formula here. Again, this is your standard deviation down here, and it's just asking you to take the square root of your variance. So standard deviation is just the square root of the variance. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to do my square root symbol, which is the second value here. So second square. And I'm actually going to try and pull, I'm going to pull this whole thing here. 4.1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and that is going to give us 2.08, and I'm just going to round here, so 2.08. Okay, the reason why I didn't round up here and then I did round down here is because these are final measurements, and I knew I was going to need to use these in making these measurements, so I did not want to round and cause any potential errors. The program should give you about a 2% tolerance, however. So this is that problem. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know.